Welcome back to the channel. It seems like Melbourne has definitely delivered the weather this weekend. Somebody above must have known that we needed to get our turbo installed on our BMW drift car. If you're new to the channel, this is our BMW drift car that we have salvaged from a complete and total wreck. We got it as a shell. It was completely stripped. The whole front chassis rails were cut off the car, and we've been building this for the past 5 years now. So a lot of work to be done in this video, but the first thing we're going to go over is all the things we need to get our turbo installed on our car.
We keep on moving, we keep on moving along, we keep on rolling, no we ain't slowing it down.
So of course I figured we may as well do an unboxing video. These are a whole bunch of parts that I've ordered probably over the last maybe 6 months, excluding the turbo. Obviously this is a 3582 turbo. It was rebuilt probably about 2 years ago. So it's a billet wheel, has all the fittings on it. I do have a previous video of doing the actual rebuild on this turbo. So if you're interested in that, I will link it down in the bottom in the description. So everything we have here pretty much is what's required to get this car turboed, excluding the injectors, which I currently don't have yet. I have ordered them. The turbo injectors that we're using are going to be out of a Ford FG, which are very similarly, the turbo is from the Ford FG as well. So first things first, we've got our radiator hoses, heater hoses, absolutely everything we need off the M50. Now, the thing is, because the E82 usually has the plastic radiator, all those special fittings for the radiator, I've decided to just go with the whole M50 set. This should be pretty standardized across all like E36s. So hopefully we'll be able to make that fit. So obviously cooling, very important for the engine, which brings us to one of my suppliers here in Melbourne. It's called Whirly. Absolutely not sponsored, just every single car that I've ever used, I've just ordered the radiator from these guys, and to be honest, I've never had an issue. There was one time we did crack a tank, but that was because I put the car into the wall, so absolutely by no fault of their own. But the good thing was that the actual radiator, the material that it was made from, was able to be welded, which was really, really good, which meant that the radiator was able to be repaired. So super exciting. This is an M50 6-cylinder non-auto radiator. So the cool thing about the E36s is the automatic transmission cooling always had like a separate compartment on the front of the car. So absolutely huge radiator, should definitely help keep the car's temperature under control. Next part is our intercooler. Now, because I'm not really chasing that much power, only really going for about, to be honest, if we can make a square 300 kilowatt all day with good torque, I'm going to be very happy. But I was also after an intercooler that was kind of going to be strong enough just to take those, you know, hits and stuff like that. So I'm not too sure if this is from Max Speeding Rods. I didn't order it directly from them, but it does look like an item that they have on their website. So needless to say, lovely intercooler core with 2.5-inch inlet and outlet. Now I know you think, why 2.5-inch? Well, to be honest, on most of my cars, I'm making over 300 kilowatts, and my intercooler piping is just 2.5-inch. And then I've got a adapter which goes from 2.5 to 3-inch on the actual intercooler. So super excited about that one, to be honest. But now a part that definitely did come from Max Speeding Rods. So so what this is a complete 2.5-inch intercooler piping kit with almost every single pipe, pretty much every pipe you're going to need. You got 45s in there, you got straights, you got all your silicone hoses, got a whole bunch of silicone hose bends, you got a whole bunch of pipe bends, you got some straights. Now, worst case scenario, we may need to get an extra couple of bends. But I mean, for the price of this kit, I think it was just on $200. Probably worth it just for the hose clamps, to be honest. Next up, we're going boosted, which means our factory coil packs, or old coil packs, I should say, are definitely not going to be up to the task. So I've decided to go up to an E46 style coil pack. A little bit of adjustment on the cam cover, rocker cover, if you like, just to get these aligned, but they give out a much better spark than the original M50 ones do. So definitely required when we're obviously boosting an engine that originally wasn't meant to be boosted. All right, now, in my defense, I can't remember what these are. I know they had something to do with my car because they're not Lego. So we're all going to find out at the same time. All right, what's this one? Oh, fantastic. Something I completely forgot that I even ordered, which is great. This is our new fuel pressure regulator, which also has rising rate. So you run a vacuum in the top there and it will adjust fuel pressure as opposed to boost and vacuum, which is very important, obviously, when going from naturally aspirated and then just a couple of vacuum lines. Now look, if by some chance I end up hitting my target and starting up a YouTube store, everything that I bought for this car, I'm actually just going to pop it on there. Mainly the links. Look, this is not, like I said, not sponsored. Mainly the links to all of this stuff. I mean, if it all works, if it all works, as far as pricing is concerned, everything was quite good. I'm not going on the cheaper end of the market, but at the end of the day, this is a drift car. We still want reliability. However, we don't need to go breaking the bank. And what was this one? This looks, oh, okay. Fantastic. It's just a little, it's just an oil catch can, but it's got a breather system through it. So there's a whole bunch of channels through here. Allow the engine to breathe and then obviously catch any excess sort of oil coming out of the top of that rocker cover, and then we'll be just draining it directly back into the feed for the where the dipstick is on all BMW engines. And most importantly probably is lubrication. Obviously made up this line previously. We're going to be running this off the back of the oil supply feed that's normally for the Vanos. I've made a special adapter there so we can bolt that into where the Vanos is connected, and then we've just got our little dash 4 fitting that comes off that, and we feed our oil to the top of the turbo. So without further ado, I was going to do the headlights first, but I think everyone probably wants to see the turbo on the car, and so do I. So let's get over there. All right, I'm going to start with a couple of do's and don'ts when it comes to installing a turbo on the car. Absolute do, go and get yourself these spanners, okay? They are like little stubby ones. They're ratcheting on one end. Obviously, just your normal sort of spanner on the other end. Not a ring spanner, but they will absolutely be detrimental to trying to get these bolts on. Now, don'ts are, don't install your turbo without a T3 gasket. So we've been going through all of our stockpile, looking for this T3 gasket everywhere. We've realized that we had a bucket that had all the gaskets in there. That was, if you've seen my previous video, was stolen. So today I'm going to have to test fit everything, pretty much just for the video. And then what I'll be doing is finalizing it all, obviously off camera, which is quite sad. But I'd much prefer to get this video out to everyone in regards to getting this turbo on. So let's bring it over. So as mentioned, probably a couple of hundred times, this turbo is a 3582 and it has had a core change, and we popped a billet wheel here on the front as well. So having a look at the actual turbo itself, seems like we can get to these back bolts quite easily. So I guess we're just going to set everything up now. Get the turbo sitting in the right spot. And then what I really need to focus on is getting the oil feed and oil return lines done properly. Might have to leave this one to the magic of YouTube. Okay, that's simple. Turbo's on. Obviously, I'm not tightening everything down. I will have to come back here and make some adjustments. But the actual where the turbo will be, or the outlet of the turbo is in the right spot. The actuator also in the right spot. Just going to make a couple of basic adjustments just around here in regards to all of these hoses. Just in regard to which way they're pointing. Just so I can get everything pretty much the way that I want it to be or feel comfortable. Next thing I'm going to do is get these water lines connected. So you can see one goes here and then this one comes up and over the top from here. So what I plan on doing is, because I've modified these to barb fittings now, I'm going to permanently fit the hoses to the actual fittings themselves. Like that there. And then we can just unscrew them. Just like that. So we'll get all these clamped up, then they'll be able to go on quite easily. With this side here though, obviously this one here being the 90 degree, we're not too worried about that one there, but we are worried about the angle that this one comes in at. But what I'm going to do first is just go and get my hose clamps. All right, we'll just tighten up our hose clamp a little bit on this hose before we push it down on that barb fitting. Now, just to confirm, these are barb fittings, not to be confused with push lock fittings. All right, so they are made to take a hose clamp. Probably just a little bit easier than trying to use obviously AN and AN fittings and stuff like that. Obviously they are the better option, but I mean, when it comes to budget and I guess ease of fabricating and setting up, it's obviously a lot easier. An absolute worst case scenario now, we can just take these hoses off, send them off, get them made, and then they'll send them back and we can just screw them on. All right, so that's one line done. Let's see if we can get this hose clamp over the other one. We can. Fantastic. Okay, and we'll probably cable tie these hoses somewhere like that on top of the engine, maybe along the top of the fuel rail, just to keep them out of the way. All right, next thing is going to be our turbo oil feed, which the line's already been made. I just need to remember which way it goes. Looks like that way suits best. So that will just go on the top of the turbo right here. Now, I'm not tightening anything just yet. Obviously, the turbo still has to come off so I can get that T3 gasket on there. But I guess we just need to figure out exactly where we're going to have those water lines. And then as far as the oil feed is concerned on the engine, if anyone's ever owned a BMW, there's usually this big banjo bolt that is for the Vanos. It's for the oil line, which runs up the side of the engine and activates the Vanos solenoid. What we've done is we have just popped a fitting on the back end of that, tapped it and threaded it. So that is exactly what we need to get our oil to the turbo. Now let's focus on getting the oil back into the engine. Now that the oil feed is done, well, at least in its place, we've got our water lines there. Obviously nothing's tightened down, but what I did when I was building this engine all the way down here, past the turbo, just into the side of the timing cover, I have placed a little banjo fitting for the drain for the turbo. So very easily, well, hopefully easily, that should just take a -8 fitting on the side of the engine there. And then that should adapt us to the turbo drain just underneath the turbo. Hopefully I've got that in shot for you. So it's a bit of a tight fit, but we can make it work. Just to make my life a little bit less difficult, I've got myself a -8 hose. I'm going to push that on from here. Once again, these fittings are made to be used with hose clamps. But for now, we're just going to get it on so we can figure out how long we need to make this hose. Now, I'm hoping you can see this in the camera, but it is quite a tight spot. So we are going to try and get this hose on. Interestingly enough, I got it first go. Obviously, I can't tighten it up, but that is something that we're going to do once the turbo comes back off. It's a lot easier to tighten all of these fittings with the turbo off the car. Next, we need to figure out how much hose we're going to need. So, quite confidently, I think that there should be enough. So we'll mark it and cut it there. All right, that's on as well. So before anyone gets upset, we're going to take this off. We're going to take it down to Pro Speed, which is down in Dandenong, and I'm going to get them to make me a custom line so then we can get it installed and we never have to worry about touching that, hopefully. So as far as the turbo is concerned, I guess that's about as much as that I'm going to film. Obviously, we've got the water feed lines, we've got the oil feed line, we've organized our drain. We definitely want that made out of a obviously a braided Teflon line. Main reason for that is because it sits right down next to the exhaust manifold, and the last thing you want is oil leaking everywhere. It's already an uphill battle. I drive a BMW, so there's enough jokes going on about that. All right, next thing's going to be, I guess in the next episode, we're going to get onto the intercooler piping and the radiator. Installing the radiator actually, because this radiator support was never meant to take an E36 radiator. But the issue is going to be is we're running 2.5-inch piping, so we're definitely going to need to organize a bend. All right, so we want a 90-degree bend so we can go straight down and get to our intercooler. All right, but looking at this here, even though we're using a 2.5-inch system, we've got a, looks like a 52 mil, so we'll call it fair's fair, 50 mil outlet. So we're going to have to order one of those either from Autobahn or from eBay, just depending on where I find it. Usually I'd get it from Autobahn. They probably have it on the shelf, so I'll go down and check with them first. But we're probably now going to get over to sorting out the rest of our lights, which means our headlights and our indicators. Last episode, I did say we were going to be working on our headlights, but I figured everybody wanted to watch the turbo install first. If you're still with me, we're going to get over to the wiring. I'll show you what we've got inside the car. As far as the wiring for inside the car is concerned, I've already got two separate switches. So one switch over here, this one here is going to be for the headlights. And then we've got this one here, you see, the beam facing upwards, obviously for our high beam. Not too sure if we're ever going to need high beams on a racetrack, but if by some chance one day this car ends up going for a drive on the street, maybe for tuning or testing purposes, maybe in Mexico, who knows, maybe we might require some high beams. So wiring for the headlights has already been run, but not completed. We've got the trigger from inside is coming up here. The blue one here is for the headlight, and the brown one is for the high beam, or maybe it's the other way around. I'm not too sure, but I'm going to have to check at the back of the dash. Okay, that needs to trigger off the relays, which I've got here in the relay box. I've already got, obviously, the relays here for headlight and for high beam. So the wires are already tagged. We've got one for the heater. Yes, I will be running a heater in this car. That one there's for the fans. Let's see, we're going to find it somewhere here. This one here is for the high beams. All right, and then we've got one more, which should be for the headlights. It's another one for the fan, but you get the idea. So the relay is already in here. We just got to get to wiring it in, and then hopefully test all the headlights and indicators are working.
writing in the margins of my mind all day, sipping herbal in the morning just to feel okay. Had a dream I was water just flowing through space, till I landed on the record that my grandma would play. Talk sweet like jazz in the park after rain. What the grass smell green and the air feels sane. Put the phone on mute, let the silence explain. I don't need much, just a book in the brain. Used to chase things that were run from me. Now I sit still, let the peace come free. Paint a verse in the sky with a loose leaf. While the moon do a dance with a soft oak tree. Let it ride, let it be, let it be what it be. Got a breeze in my chest and a thought run free. I don't rush, I don't race, I just float on three. Got a vibe in my soul, got a life on key. Let it ride, let it breathe, let it roll like that. Got the world in my cup and the beat in the back. I don't stress, I don't fold, I just lean on.
So if we did all of that right, we should be able to come over here, give the battery power, hit the light for the headlight. Now, I still haven't connected the headlight itself. However, if we were to get our test light, we should now have a positive to both of these blue connections because the relay is on. There we go. That's one. And that should be 2. Okay, headlights are connected, well, powered up. Now we'll get the high beams plugged in. So just like I did with the headlights, we've got our trigger wire that's coming obviously from the dashboard. Okay, and this is our trigger for the relay. Now, my strategic way of doing all my wiring is that any positive cable that is delivering power gets a female blade adapter. And that means that in the event that if one of these plugs were to ever rattle loose, the side supplying the power, in theory, should never earth out against the body of the car. Whereas with the male blade adapters, because obviously there's exposed metal there, there's a high chance that that will earth out against the body of the car. So that has our trigger to the relay. And then this is our wiring here. This should be our output wire. And again, the same process. The wire that should be giving power should receive the fully shielded connector. And then the wires receiving the power should have the exposed one. Again, if you do it differently, let me know in the comments, but I have found over the years that there is a very high chance that one of these connectors does come loose. Until I actually sit down and one by one solder and heat shrink every single connection that I've done so far, that's kind of only going to happen once I'm really confident that I have got everything right. I'm only human. You can ask my wife. She'll tell you I make mistakes on a daily basis. All right, and this here now should be our trigger and output for the high beams. Now to test that, I'm just going to go turn it on the dashboard. And if I've done everything correctly, which I believe that I have, this brown wire here should now be active. And it is. Let's go to the other side. And we're active, which means that our relay for our headlight and for our high beam is now working. So the next thing is going to be connecting it to the actual headlight themselves. And for that, just like the rear lights, we're going to need a plug. So of course, if you are watching my channel, you know that I have 2 complete other cars. One's completely written off. So what I've done is I've just gone and chopped off the headlight wires. Now, initially, I was quite confident that this would just work, just put them in and be done. But as you recall, when I did the rear lights, the plugs were the same, but the wrong way around, left to right. So I guess the first thing is going to be figuring out which headlight these plugs belong to. Now, from what I can see, looks like one headlight points this way and the other one points that way. So I guess we're just gonna have to try. So I'm quietly confident that this plug here facing this way is the one for the right hand side, or should I say passenger side in Australia. And then this one here, which points this way, I'm going to be quite confident that that is for that headlight. Next thing I'm going to check is actually if, like the rear lights, you can mix these up. Let's have a look. All right, that is absolutely great news. You cannot mix these plugs up, which means that is definitely the one for that headlight, and this is definitely one for this side. So just like the previous video, all that's really left to do is pretty much connect the dots wire with wire, one for the headlight, one for the high beam, one for the indicator. So that's pretty much just going to be me doing a whole lot of wiring down on the bench. So if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. So wrapped that the turbo is finally on the car. Please consider subscribing to the channel, hit a like, maybe comment, and then hit that bell icon so you'll get a notification of when the next update is on this car. But we are going gangbusters. We are releasing a video almost every week. So once again, we'll see you in the next video.
Are you filming?
Yeah.
Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is a BMW M30 260 754, and today we are re-establishing the engine and we're going to go drag racing. So please like and subscribe. Bye.
My family, people.